After 4 years of the apocalypse, Chang'an was assassinated by his girlfriend and her adulterer. When he woke up, the first thing he did was to stab his girlfriend's dog-headed strategist and congratulate her on a happy engagement with his head on his neck. This matter is not over. How can the proud and delicate female boss also join in the fun of playing fairy dance? Proud female boss. Chang'an, I have 2 options for you now. Either admit that you are the pervert who secretly takes photos and resigns voluntarily, or I will hand over the video of you sexually assaulting me to the police and prepare to go to jail for a meal. Chang'an gave a cold smile and said, I'll give you 2 choices too. Proud female boss. What do you mean? Chang'an. First, submit to me. Proud female boss. It's impossible, unless I die. Chapter 1. They just really want it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Warm tip. The order of the end of the world is: extreme high temperature natural disasters, rainstorm floods, extreme cold ice age. In the article, the period before the extreme cold is collectively called the prelude to the end of the world. In fact, it has been the end of the world since the high temperature. I hope you will have a good read. Am I dreaming? Chang'an stood in front of the mirror, his hands propped up on the damp marble countertop, staring blankly at the young face in the mirror. This is also too outrageous. After all, Rebirth and so on will only appear in novels and TV dramas. Chang'an furrowed his brows slightly, and as he spoke, he punched the glass mirror in front of him. Bang! The next second, a shocking crack spread outwards from the fist, and shattered glass fragments fell to the ground. Cold droplets mixed with sweat slid down Chang'an's face, and in the bathroom, besides the sound of water flowing, there was only his rapid breathing. Feeling the real pain from his fist, Chang'an finally accepted the fact that he was forced to be reborn. It seems that all of this is true. With lingering palpitations, Chang'an casually pulled off the towel on the nearby shelf and wiped his face, reaching out to turn off the faucet in front of him. After shaking off the water stains on his hands, Chang'an opened the bathroom door and walked out. Looking at the familiar furnishings in the room and the pleasant temperature in the air, Chang'an worked hard to calm his mood and then walked to the bedside table to pick up his phone. August 11, 2062, unexpectedly reborn a month before the end of the world. The time displayed on the phone screen is so memorable. Because in a month's time, a week-long global heavy rainstorm will usher in the end of the world and force human civilization into a new round of the Great Ice Age with the help of the ray bursts generated by the blue giant explosion 17 light-years away. That is to say, the entire human civilization will face the most brutal test in history in a month. Before Chang'an could recall those 2 years of life that were like grass, the dull whistle outside the window pulled his thoughts back. When, this time, I want you to live or die. In the depths of Chang'an's gaze, a beautiful figure slowly emerged and was immediately overwhelmed by endless resentment. In his past life, Chang'an gave everything for When. Even if he entered the barrier built by the Chang'an theater, he did not forget to properly place her and her friends. Unexpectedly, this slut had already had an affair with the wealthy second-generation Wei Shihao of the Webster Group, and even before the end of the world, that is, tomorrow, this dog man and woman were engaged behind their backs. What's even more despicable is that in order to become supernatural beings, this pair of adulterers and prostitutes actually planned to kill themselves by drinking his spinal fluid in front of him. Chang'an grew increasingly resentful as he thought about it, especially when he saw the sarcastic couple photo on the bedside table. Just as Chang'an struggled to suppress his anger and wanted to reach out and smash the photo with that slut, a sudden change occurred in front of him. His hand had not yet touched the frame, but a black hole appeared out of thin air beneath it, sucking the frame on the bedside table and the desk lamp into it. Chang'an looked at the scene in shock and said, "Is this?" As a reinforcement type ability who had survived in the apocalypse for 2 years, he had a bold idea about this strange scene. With a movement of his mind, in the blink of an eye, his consciousness entered a vast white space. Looking at the boundless space from a god's perspective, Li Chang'an was shocked to see photo frames and desk lamps floating quietly like a drop in the ocean. If he guessed correctly, this is a different dimensional space. However, he has also been in contact with spatial beings in his past life. Isn't it true that the maximum storage area is only 10 square meters? Why here so big? Li Chang'an did not dwell too much on this, but after being shocked, his eyes were filled with ecstasy. You should know that there is still a month until the end of the world, and with this boundless dimension, he can do a lot of things. The cicadas chirping in summer and the traffic on the road woke up the sleeping Jiangqing. After cleaning up, Li Chang'an directly left the dormitory and went to work at Ningzhou Port Group Company, Limited, which implements a big and small weak model. As a graduate of Jiangqing University, Li Chang'an is employed as a management trainee. At present, his main job is to familiarize himself with the business of port management and facilitate future job placement. The reborn Li Chang'an had no need to waste time here. After all, the apocalypse will sweep through this world in less than a month. Under the apocalypse, all beings are equal. In the face of death, it doesn't matter how much money you have, whether you are a social celebrity or not. But with the blessing of memory, he discovered an interesting phenomenon. Some major Western powers seem to have long anticipated that some big capitalists are planning to secretly transport goods stored in China through the port of Ningzhou, which has been the world's largest port in terms of throughput for 14 consecutive years. What is the most important thing under the apocalypse? It's not about money, nor is it about immense power, it's about supplies that can sustain one's continued existence. Coincidentally, Li Chang'an had an empty dimension waiting to be filled. If heaven does not take it, he will bear the blame instead. Such a good opportunity, Li Chang'an naturally will not miss it. So he consciously arrived at the company half an hour early, checked in, and directly drove the company car to Ningzhou Port. According to the impression of Ningzhou Port in memory, Li Chang'an first walked through the container stacking area of the whole port in a fancy way of Ma Guan, and stored it in Banji, Walmart, Sam. We have made some key markings on the location of material containers for major capital groups. In the afternoon, he went to the bonded port area and warehouse next to Ningzhou Port again. As an internal staff member, he can travel freely in these places with his employee ID card. When he returned to the company to clock in and out, he had already figured out the specific locations of all the surveillance cameras. Replacing his work clothes from the changing room, Li Chang'an reviewed every point explored today and walked towards the nearby toilet. Due to wandering around the port area all day, he never used the restroom once. What surprised him was that there was no toilet in the restroom. Before Li Chang'an could come to his senses, a woman's voice suddenly sounded from behind. Li Chang'an. Li Chang'an turned around in response and saw a beautiful girl with long black hair, dressed in a wine-red skirt, and a very curvaceous figure blocking the entrance to the restroom. A look of disgust flickered between her puzzled eyebrows. Zhang Mengjia at the entrance of the restroom. Li Chang'an looked at her, with memories of this girl floating in his mind. Her name is Zhang Mengjia, a typical urban young female white-collar worker who is vain and materialistic, and has a strong dual-standard feminist ideology in her bones. Zhang Mengjia looked at Li Chang'an with an unpleasant expression and said coldly, "This is the women's restroom. What are you doing here?" Li Chang'an was a bit displeased. He didn't like the aggressive tone of interrogating prisoners, especially since Zhang Mengjia and Chen Wenwen, who are both sluts, are money worshippers. What else can I do if I come to the bathroom? If I don't go to the bathroom, I can still go to you. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Mengjia's mind instantly flashed with some pictures of men and women typing codes in the restroom. She stared at Li Chang'an with a flushed face and ears, saying, You. She didn't expect Li Chang'an to be so vulgar and straightforward, it was too much. But Li Chang'an is not in the mood to spend time with Zhang Mengjia here. There is less than a month until the end of the world, and every minute and second is crucial now. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, just step aside. After speaking, Li Chang'an walked past Zhang Mengjia and left. Zhang Mengjia stood still, unable to distinguish who was the person who had entered the wrong restroom. Did I really misunderstand him? Zhang Mengjia had some doubts about life. Although the person who made the mistake was Li Chang'an, this guy's blunt and straightforward tone seemed like she had gone to the wrong restroom. For a moment, Zhang Mengjia's mood was very chaotic. I used to get annoyed at work, but now I'm even more annoyed. Suddenly, the rumbling of her stomach interrupted Zhang Mengjia's thoughts. She hurriedly walked into the women's restroom wearing high heels, sat on the toilet, took out the latest fruit phone from Hermes' handbag, and opened Weibo. Who knows, my family. Today I met a man with a lower head in the company. After editing the copy, Zhang Mengjia pressed send. At the moment when this Weibo post was successfully posted, a WeChat message also came along. Zhang Mengjia opened it and saw that it was a message from her boyfriend, Manager Song. Baby, what are you doing? Zhang Mengjia casually replied, overtime in the company. Oh, I'll pick you up tonight. The clothes I ordered for you online the day before yesterday have arrived. Let's try them out at a hotel. *******, clothing. Zhang Mengjia immediately realized what her boyfriend Song Jingli was talking about, but for some reason, her mind suddenly flashed with Li Chang'an's light words and those imaginative postures. Zhang Mengjia was startled and shook her head, trying to shake out those annoying scenes. In order to divert her attention, she shifted her mind to her favorite luxury item. Bag. Zhang Mengjia's eyes flickered as she quickly replied to her boyfriend, Manager Song, baby, I can't do it tonight. I have to work overtime. Work overtime. Hermes has recently released a new bag that they really want, so they plan to work overtime to make money. Zhang Mengjia didn't say anything to death, but gave a small hint to her boyfriend, Manager Song, saying, however, if you help someone buy something, baby. Red heart, Didn't I just buy you a bag last week? But they just seem to want it, this. Zhang Mengjia saw her boyfriend Manager Song hesitating, her moist red lips slightly raised. She opened the front camera and posed in a seductive position, taking several photos of herself sitting on the toilet with her shirt half exposed and sending them to her boyfriend Manager Song. As expected, he immediately disarmed and surrendered. Humph, you must force me to magnify your moves. Zhang Mengjia looked triumphantly at Manager Song's reply and then clicked on the photo she had just taken, intending to appreciate her beauty. Unexpectedly, she quickly discovered something strange. What is this? Zhang Mengjia enlarged the photo on her phone screen, and there seems to be a red dot on the lower left corner vent behind the toilet. She frowned and bent down to look at the ventilation vent. Inside the ventilation vent, a miniature camera suddenly appeared. Why did you secretly take photos in the women's restroom in Chapter 2? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next morning, Li Chang'an went to work at the company as usual. He had planned to clock in as usual and then sneak to the port area to continue checking and filling in any gaps, to see if there were any missing surveillance footage. Before he could leave the company gate, he was stopped by 2 security guards and taken to the supervisor's office. Then came an internal review. Li Chang'an, as long as you admit that you put the pinhole camera in the women's restroom, perhaps I will consider just firing you. As he looked up again, a pair of black silk legs with high heels caught his eye first. In front of Li Chang'an, a tall and plump woman hugged her chest with both hands, and her beautiful eyes under frameless glasses were extremely haughty. She looked at him disdainfully, with a look of garbage on her face. Her name is Li Xiangjuan, and she is the Deputy Director of Human Resources at Ningzhou Port Group Company, Limited. The nature of this sneak shooting incident is extremely malicious, and it is the first time since the establishment of our group. The security department has intervened in the investigation now. If you still speak so hard, I won't be able to help you. During his speech, Li Xiangjuan's spare light scanned Li Chang'an, trying to capture the information he wanted from his facial expressions. But Li Chang'an's performance left her very disappointed, with a college-like confusion on her face. After listening for so long, Li Chang'an finally understood the ins and outs of everything. It seems that there was a sneak shooting incident in the previous life group, but didn't we quickly find out the culprit at that time? No, if that person were really a criminal, it wouldn't be him sitting here now. That is to say, at that time, was that person also pulled out to face thunder? On the other side, looking at Li Chang'an, who remained silent, Li Xiangjuan, the deputy director of human resources, withdrew his gaze and furrowed his eyebrows slightly. Does this stinky young man still have to put on a nonchalant attitude until now? I really can't shed tears without seeing the coffin. Now is a critical period for the group, and the senior management attaches great importance to the group's image, so there is still some room for maneuver in your matter. But only until the security department has received conclusive evidence. Seeing that Li Chang'an still had no intention of speaking, Li Xiangjuan withdrew his gaze and said, "Think about it." Li Chang'an organized a conversation and looked at Li Xiangjuan, deputy director of personnel department. Li Xiangjuan saw that Li Chang'an finally had the intention to let go, thinking that he couldn't bear the pressure and was ready to confess. Apart from disdaining Li Chang'an, there is a faint joy of victory in my heart. Have you finally figured it out? Li Xiangjuan slowly twisted her graceful waist and walked towards the nearby desk. Between the clattering of her high heels, her hand quietly turned on the recording function of her phone on the desktop and said, "Tell me, why did you do that in the women's restroom?" In order to avoid Li Chang'an noticing, Li Xiangjuan quietly distanced himself from his desk. Now, as long as Li Chang'an admits it personally, this sneak shooting incident will not affect her year-end assessment. If done properly, it may even become a bonus point. Thinking of this, Li Xiangjuan's red lips slightly rippled with an imperceptible smile. "Deputy Director Li, I have said it many times, this is really a misunderstanding." Li Chang'an explained, "I didn't put the pinhole camera you mentioned." "That's enough." Li Xiangjuan spoke coldly and stopped Li Chang'an's sophistry. "Li Chang'an, you should know that this is not your prank at school. I'm helping you. If you don't admit it now, the only thing waiting for you is the police and the disaster of imprisonment." Li Chang'an looked at this arrogant and determined Li Xiangjuan, who was the pervert who secretly took photos. Before he could explain anything, the office door was knocked on. Dong dong, dong dong. Li Xiangjuan restrained his expression and said calmly, "Enter." Immediately, a security guard pushed the door in and approached Li Xiangjuan with a proud expression, whispering something in her ear. After the security personnel left the office, she didn't look at Li Chang'an anymore, just walked slowly towards her desk. "You're lucky, the surveillance footage near the restroom happened to be under repair and didn't capture anything." Speaking, Li Xiangjuan quietly turned off the recording function of his phone. "The surveillance cameras near the beverage vending machine have also captured your footage, so you have temporarily passed this level." Li Chang'an. What does it mean to be considered temporary? The matter of secretly taking photos has nothing to do with him, right? Li Xiangjuan turned around and glanced at Li Chang'an, who was staring at him. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly and she said indifferently, "Now, you can go out and continue working." "Is that all?" Mud Bodhisattva also has a third degree of fiery energy, let alone Li Chang'an, who almost became a scapegoat just after crossing over. "Deputy Director Li, since this matter is a misunderstanding, do you have nothing else to say to me?" Li Chang'an looked at Li Xiangjuan, the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department, with a displeased expression. Since he had wronged himself, he should at least apologize to himself. However, Li Xiangjuan still had a cold and indifferent expression, seemingly indifferent to Li Chang'an's feelings, and had no intention of apologizing at all. "No, you can go out now." Just as Li Chang'an was about to open the office door and leave, Li Xiangjuan's voice rang out again. "Wait, you'll stay in the company for this period of time until the suspicion is completely cleared." "Sure." Li Chang'an did not continue to argue with Li Xiangjuan in the office and pushed the door open directly. He is just a small intern at Ningzhou Port Group now. Li Xiangjuan is his immediate superior, and if he gets into a standoff with this woman, there will be no benefit in coordinating the next plan. However, the tree wanted to be quiet but the wind didn't stop. After leaving the office, at the corner, Li Chang'an heard his colleagues discussing with him. Is it really Li Chang'an who did it? This kid has been here for over 3 months now, and he doesn't usually talk much. He looks sleazy and doesn't look like a good person. Who else can he be without him? No wonder this kid doesn't attend every department dinner. It turns out he's doing such disgusting things. How disgusting. Why did the company hire this pervert? After seeing Li Chang'an walk in, his voice suddenly stopped, but those eyes with different expressions had already explained everything. Li Chang'an is also too lazy to explain anything, as those who are clear are self-clear. Even if he talks about a flower, any further explanation would be pale and powerless. And with the end of the world approaching, whether these people can survive in the end is a question. It's just a bit of wind and frost, there's no need to worry about it. Li Chang'an gave them a cold glance and then returned to his workstation to fish and pass the time. At 5:01 p.m. Just when Li Chang'an was about to end his day of fishing and clock out after work. A familiar smell of Dior perfume rushed into the nose. Immediately afterwards, a mature and aloof voice suddenly sounded from behind. Watching gossip and fishing in the company, do you think the company is your home? Chapter 3. Is there an appointment with the superior of the Imperial Sister? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing this, Li Chang'an almost fell off the chair. Looking back, Li Xiangjuan's mature and intellectually charming cold face caught the eye. The expression in those eyes under frameless glasses is still very unpleasant. He quickly regained his composure and calmly turned off the search web page on the computer screen. Deputy Director Li, what's wrong with me checking the news after work? You manage quite leniently. As soon as these words were spoken, more than a dozen pairs of spectators in the office area were stunned. No one expected that Li Chang'an, this little intern, would dare to confront Li Xiangjuan. You should know that the current interns are still just management trainees and have not been officially appointed. That is to say, Li Xiangjuan, as the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department, is Li Chang'an's immediate superior and holds his qualification for permanent employment in this company. Li Xiangjuan, who was holding her chest with both hands on the side, was also surprised, but she only regarded it as Li Chang'an's rebellion against him for wronging him this morning. If it weren't for her needing Li Chang'an to do something else, she could have asked Li Chang'an to pack up and leave now. The others in the office area looked at Li Xiangjuan, curious about how she would handle Li Chang'an. Others can finish work now. Li Xiangjuan furrowed his brows slightly, left a sentence in the office area where the needle could be heard, and then walked back to the office wearing high heels. Please stay for a while and come to the office. Li Chang'an stood up and casually followed Li Xiangjuan into the office. In the office, Li Chang'an thought she was going to reprimand herself a few times or use her meager hard-earned salary to argue. Almost all possible career paths in this situation have been thought of by Li Chang'an. He only didn't expect that this aloof female boss would say, "Can you drive?" Ah! Li Chang'an was taken aback. Is the span of topic jumping so wide? This woman is quite contrasting in her play. What car are you talking about? There are many types of cars, both abstract and specific. There is a distinction between those that require a driver's license and those that do not, and those that require a driver's license are also graded. The knowledge inside is not small. Li Xiangjuan didn't look at him, just put the phone on his desk into his LV handbag and said, "A regular car, BMW." Li Chang'an looked at this elusive woman and confirmed that she was not joking. A little bit, right? In his previous life, during the summer vacation of his freshman year, Li Chang'an obtained his C1 driver's license. Combined with the driving skills learned in the Chang'an Theater Command during the apocalypse, driving a BMW is still effortless. That's good. There will be a business gathering later. You can add an extra shift tonight and accompany me there. Originally, there was a request from him to become a free driver again. Overtime is impossible. The company only offers him a small internship salary, so there is no need to work so hard. A monthly salary of 3,500 yuan, life is more difficult than American style, add a hair class. And he has very important arrangements tonight. Li Chang'an didn't even think about it, so he had to refuse. But before he could speak, Li Xiangjuan continued, I'll give you 3 times the overtime pay, and you're going to a suburban resort where the food tastes good. You can also go and eat some. Just consider it as compensation for what happened this morning. Seeing Li Xiangjuan's implied apology, Li Chang'an was a bit surprised. After all, in his impression, Li Xiangjuan's image has always been haughty, with a look of his eyes above his head. Now it seems that this arrogant female boss is quite reasonable, at least not as sharp and harsh as she appears on the surface. Wait, suburban resort. Before his death, Wei Shihao hugged Chen Wenwen and said that the place where they had been engaged behind his back was like a resort. No, what a coincidence. Is the suburban resort you mentioned the Bishwawan resort? Do you know that place? Li Xiangjuan was somewhat surprised that Li Chang'an, a poor student, could not have had any contact with the Bishwawan resort, which was a place where people who were neither wealthy nor wealthy went. Li Chang'an didn't explain anything either. Okay, I can go with you. Triple not triple is not important, mainly because I want to help the leader. In my past life memories, it seems that Li Xiangjuan did not come to work the next day, as if he had hit a tree to repair his car. Traveling southeast from the central business district of Jiangcheng, we drove on the Ring Expressway for more than half an hour, then took a detour on the suburban national road for about 20 minutes before finally arriving at the Bishwawan resort. Li Chang'an parked his car near a restaurant according to Li Xiangjuan's instructions. From the appearance, this restaurant is not very outstanding. But in the nearby parking spaces, there are mostly luxury cars such as Rolls-Royce, Porsche, and Big G. It vaguely highlights its uniqueness. After Li Xiangjuan got off the car, he naturally bent down and held the LV handbag in his hand from inside the car. Glancing at Li Chang'an standing in front of the car, who seemed to be in a daze, he felt extremely contemptuous towards him in his heart. An ignorant poor student, this is probably the first time in his life that he has come to such a high-end place. But when Li Chang'an turned her head, she concealed the indifference in her eyes very well, just a faint signal for Li Chang'an to go with her. Li Xiangjuan said he asked Li Chang'an to accompany her to the business gathering, but in reality, he only arranged for him to sit at a side table in the hall and let him order something to eat casually. And under the respectful guidance of the waiter, she took the elevator into the high-end private room on the 5th floor. The first floor leans towards the hall. Li Chang'an himself has little interest in Li Xiangjuan's business gathering, so he has no objection to her arrangements. At this moment, he was standing in the hall, looking up coldly at the banner hanging. Congratulations to Mr. Wei Shihao and Ms. Chen Wenwen on their engagement. The banner was bright and festive, but like a sharp bayonet, it fiercely pierced Li Chang'an's heart. Li Chang'an sneered at himself. His girlfriend was getting engaged, but he had no knowledge of his past life. What a satirical and cowardly scene, Li Chang'an. Li Chang'an, whose murderous heart was gradually rising, immediately suppressed his murderous intent in his eyes upon hearing these words. He turned his head and saw a familiar surprised face appearing not far away. Zhao Siki. The newcomer is an old acquaintance, who is Zhao Siki, the best friend and dog-headed military strategist of his girlfriend Chen Wenwen. She put on makeup today, and her hairstyle and dress matched well, which almost made Li Chang'an not recognize her. And Zhao Siki was clearly even more surprised than Li Chang'an. You. How could you be here? Why can't I be here? Li Chang'an looked at Zhao Siki indifferently. Judging from her expression and attire, it was certain that she was also a guest attending the engagement banquet between Chang'an and Wei Shihao. Thinking about how he loved his house and bought many gifts for Zhao Siki back then, Li Chang'an felt nauseous. Faced with Li Chang'an's rhetorical question, Zhao Siki showed displeasure. As Chen Wenwen's best friend, Li Chang'an used to please herself in every way possible. Why is she so impolite now and showing off her bad face to anyone? Is it difficult? What did he know? Did you come alone? She looked at Li Chang'an, her heart full of turmoil. Although she doesn't know why Li Chang'an appeared here, one thing she can be certain of is that Chen Wenwen would never invite Li Chang'an to tonight's engagement banquet. Li Chang'an originally intended to say that I can be wherever I want, it's none of your business. But when the words reached his lips, Li Chang'an suddenly changed his tune. Come with the leader. Leader. Zhao Siki saw that Li Chang'an's expression, which was taken for granted, did not seem to be fake. As Chen Wenwen's best friend, Zhao Siki has a clear understanding of Li Chang'an's licking dog. That's right, if Li Chang'an really knew that his girlfriend Chen Wenwen was about to hold a wedding banquet with Wei Xiao here, how could he be so calm? However, Zhao Siki did not let her guard down. Whether it was a coincidence or an upset, she could not let Li Chang'an stay here any longer. We need to take advantage of Li Chang'an's lack of attention to the engagement banner and take this guy away. Don't argue, Wenwen is sick all by herself, but you're playing here. Do you deserve her? Zhao Siki frowned and sternly accused Li Chang'an. This will replace Li Chang'an from his previous life, and it's impossible to be fooled by this woman. Oh. Wenwen is sick again. Li Chang'an asked very cooperatively. You don't know your girlfriend is sick, but you still have the face to ask me. Zhao Siki glared angrily at Li Chang'an, pretending to hate the iron for not turning into steel. I'm really not worth it for Wenwen, he said. Li Chang'an. Zhao Siki was delighted to see that Li Chang'an had not spoken. He quickly took advantage of the victory and chased after Li Chang'an, pulling him out. Why are you still standing there? Go out and call Wenwen. Li Chang'an followed Zhao Siki out of the hotel and arrived at a secluded place. How could Zhao Siki really ask Li Chang'an to call Chen Wenwen? You should know that Chen Wenwen is most likely accompanying Wei Xiao now. What's going on? When answering Li Chang'an's call? Just as Li Chang'an was about to dial, Zhao Siki impatiently grabbed his phone. Why are you grabbing my phone? At this moment, Zhao Siki's hanging heart was basically relieved and he spoke coldly. Do you think what Wenwen needs now is 1 or 2 words of comfort and warmth from you on the phone? Li Chang'an looked at this actress and felt that this woman's failure to enter the film and television industry was considered a failure. Otherwise, if I were you, I should take a taxi to the hospital immediately. Zhao Siki hugged her chest with both hands and pointed out, what Wenwen needs most now is your company, stupid. Accompanying you. The night was dim, and Zhao Siki didn't notice the murderous intent in Li Chang'an's eyes. He clicked on the taxi mini program in Weixin and said, I have already called the taxi for you. You can leave now. In order to ensure no mistakes, Zhao Siki insisted on watching Li Chang'an get on the car. Speaking, he walked out of the resort with Li Chang'an one by one. But Li Chang'an did not stop on the main road, instead he walked into a side road. Have you not reached the boarding point yet? After walking for a while, Zhao Siki asked impatiently. What she didn't know was that Li Chang'an had quietly cancelled the ride-hailing service after receiving his phone. When Zhao Siki asked, Li Chang'an looked at the surrounding environment with his back to her, but stopped and spoke indifferently. It's here. Chapter 4. Don't waste encountering bad girls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Chang'an, are you mistaken? There isn't even a light here, how could it be the boarding point? The darkness around made Zhao Siki feel a bit uneasy. Why don't we wait on the main road? No mistake, this is indeed not the boarding point. Li Chang'an turned around and looked quietly at Zhao Siki, his eyes cold and terrifying. Zhao Siki seemed to have not figured out the situation yet. Upon hearing this, he was taken aback for a moment, and then his face was full of anger. Li Chang'an, are you sick? This is not the pick-up point. What are you doing here? Because this is about to be the end of your life. What? What does it mean? Zhao Siki looked at Li Chang'an approaching calmly, and for some reason, an inexplicable fear swept over her heart. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. Is it because she drank alcohol? I was actually afraid of guys like Li Chang'an. On September 15 last year, Wei Shihao gave you an LV bag to thank you for helping him chase Chen Wenwen. Last year's National Day, you and Chen Wenwen falsely claimed to be traveling to the mountain city together, but in fact, they were creating opportunities for Wei Shihao. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come back alone earlier. On April 17, in order to cover up for Chen Wenwen, that slut, and Wei Shihao going out on a date, you also lied about her illness like today. Li Chang'an spoke indifferently about everything that Zhao Siki had contributed to the adultery between this dog man and woman, not including what he didn't know. Zhao Siki, who was originally arrogant, became more and more anxious as he listened and scolded, "What are you talking nonsense about? Wenwen is still sick now, and you suspect her of cheating. Li Chang'an, are you still human? Still pretending, don't you even think twice when you lie? Your language hasn't changed at all." Li Chang'an sneered and said, "Also, you wouldn't really think that I didn't know today was the engagement banquet for that dog couple." Zhao Siki, who had originally intended to continue her sophistry, was shocked when she heard Li Chang'an say the thing she wanted to cover up the most. You. How? Before finishing her sentence, Zhao Siki, wearing high heels, couldn't help but step back as she looked at Li Chang'an who was about to bully her. Unexpectedly, the heel of the shoe hit a stone, causing her to stumble and sit on the ground. Ah! It hurt so much. Faced with Zhao Siki's tender moans under the pain of eating, Li Chang'an showed no mercy towards her. He crouched down on one knee in front of Zhao Siki, reached out to pinch Zhao Siki's chin, and said with great interest, "Don't worry about how I know, just say. Should you die?" Zhao Siki looked directly at Li Chang'an through the darkness, with a deep indifference in her eyes and the calm word of death, making her feel cold all over. Zhao Siki, who had regained his senses, raised his hand to break free from Li Chang'an's frivolous gesture. "Li Chang'an, are you crazy? Why, don't you pretend?" Upon learning that Li Chang'an had already known everything, Zhao Siki's worries had actually dissipated. Also, she had had enough of her best friend's domineering licking dog and said, "Even if I did it all, so what? You don't even look at yourself, you're all cheap street vendors. With just one move from Wei Shihao, it's worth your annual salary. What do you compare yourself to others, and what do you give Chen Wenwen happiness? I'm just helping Wenwen find true happiness, what's wrong with me? Shouldn't I be damned? You're so talented. Why didn't you just rush to the third floor of the hotel to kill Chen Wenwen and Wei Shihao? What kind of man is playing with authority here? He's such a coward." Every time Zhao Siki said a word, the coldness in Li Chang'an's eyes increased even more. Looking at the unmoved Li Chang'an, Zhao Siki felt even more contemptuous and arrogant towards him. "Even if I say I deserve to die, what if you have the guts to kill me today?" As she spoke, Zhao Siki seemed to be not satisfied yet. She took out a self-defense knife from Gucci's handbag and threw it at Li Chang'an. "Come on, weren't you crazy just now? I've prepared all the knives for you." But just as Zhao Siki finished speaking, he immediately regretted it in his heart. Because she saw with her own eyes that Li Chang'an really picked up the small knife. Zhao Siki couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. What if this guy really gets angry and starts cutting at her? However, Zhao Siki quickly let go of his worries. If Li Chang'an had the courage, he wouldn't have just been sitting in the lobby of the restaurant staring blankly. In addition, the thought of the well-equipped surveillance facilities in the resort gave her the courage to continue shouting, "So many cameras in the resort have captured you and me coming out together. Do you think even if you kill me, you can run away? Are you saying these things?" After Zhao Siki finished speaking, Li Chang'an snapped his fingers. Zhao Siki, who didn't know what kind of nerve Li Chang'an was going through, was dumbfounded in the next second. Suddenly, a black hole appeared beside the two of them, and a bunch of surveillance cameras crashed to the ground. "You! How did you do it?" Seeing the surveillance camera falling to the ground, Zhao Siki was completely stunned. When did Li Chang'an dismantle these surveillance cameras? But as soon as she finished speaking, a knife accurately penetrated her neck. "You talk too much." Li Chang'an's calm and indifferent voice echoed in Zhao Siki's ear. "Now, you can go die." Zhao Siki looked at Li Chang'an in shock, feeling a sweetness in her throat. As she was about to lower her head, intense pain surged into her brain. Immediately, warm blood gushed out from the blade and mouth, respectively. Zhao Siki's face was full of fear, and he wanted to say something but was overwhelmed by the blood in his mouth, unable to speak. Li Chang'an was worried about blood sticking to his clothes and had already retreated to a distance of 1 meter. Compared to Zhao Siki, who was panicked and wanted to prevent the passing of life, he still liked the rebellious and unruly appearance he had just shown. When Zhao Siki's consciousness was dying and he collapsed in a pool of blood, Li Chang'an finally approached. "Before cutting off her head with my own hands, I politely said, 'I'll lend you a head on your neck.' As the saying goes, don't miss the good girl and don't waste the bad girl. If you can exert some residual heat before you die, our old Li can also accumulate some virtue for you. Don't worry, that dog man and woman will soon come down to accompany you." After collecting Zhao Siki's body and head into a different dimensional space, Li Chang'an took advantage of the moonlight and returned to the resort. In the back kitchen of the restaurant, Li Chang'an, dressed in a smooth service staff suit, naturally integrated into this compact and busy team. The time quickly arrived at 7:30 p.m. When Li Chang'an arrived at the Phoenix Hall on the 3rd floor with a group of service personnel pushing a dining car and taking a freight elevator, the open and gorgeous hall door interrupted and intermittent sounds were heard. "When, being able to meet you in the vast sea of people is the greatest fortune of my life, Wei Shihao. Today, under the witness of so many relatives and friends, I hope you can agree to marry me, okay?" Chapter 5 is difficult, so don't do it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the moment of opening the hall door, countless voices in unison rushed into Li Chang'an's ears. "Promise him. Promise him." On the front table of dozens of dining tables, the spotlight reflects a pair of men and women below it. The man is wearing a pure white haute couture suit, holding a bouquet of 99 roses, kneeling on one knee with a bright smile. And across from him, the female protagonist who was confessed was none other than Wen, who had been in love with Li Chang'an for 4 years. No, it should be said that she is a prospective fiancée AE. After all, Li Chang'an has already paid the dowry of 38,888 according to their family's requirements. Li Chang'an stood behind the crowd, looking at the soon-to-be fiancé AE who had just been reborn and had put on a green hat for himself. Leaving aside the facts, even though Wen is a fickle slut, her face is not black. Tonight, Wen is dressed in a moon-white long dress, extremely elegant. She, who was already tall, exuded a shyness that Li Chang'an had never seen before in her memory. Or rather, this is the true appearance of Wen. She was not a towering goddess, just an ordinary girl. I will be happy, angry, enjoy watching dramas, and also show my fragile and shy side in front of the person I like. Just that person, it's no longer just Li Chang'an. Wen on stage obviously didn't notice Li Chang'an by the private door. Amidst the cheers of the stars and moon, her cheeks turned red. Like a lotus, unable to withstand the shyness of the cool breeze. I am willing. Although the successful proposal was a predetermined script, as he watched his beloved Chen-Wen-Wen take her rose and love, and agree to marry him, Wei Shihao couldn't help but cheer and excitedly embraced Chen-Wen-Wen in his arms. Kiss one. Kiss one. Kiss one. Kiss one. Chen-Wen-Wen also blushed and sweetly cooperated with the voices of the surrounding atmosphere group, and the two kissed each other. However, just as Chen-Wen-Wen was about to indulge in the passionate kiss of her wealthy second-generation boyfriend, through the crowd, she seemed to see a familiar face. Suddenly, Chen-Wen-Wen's eyes widened. Li Chang'an. She looked incredulously at Li Chang'an by the door of the private room after the crowd. How could he appear here? Shouldn't he be working at Ningzhou port, desperately earning money to buy himself a birthday gift? And she remembers that he wasn't on the invitation list. For the appearance of Li Chang'an, Chen-Wen-Wen felt as if she had seen a ghost, feeling bewildered. For a moment, Chen-Wen-Wen felt her hands and feet cold, and the atmosphere of love in her heart dissipated instantly. And Li Chang'an's indifferent expression made Chen-Wen-Wen even more stiff. Wei Shihao, who held her in his arms, noticed something unusual about his fiancée A.E. After the kiss, he hugged her slender waist and thanked his friends around him. This banquet, which existed for engagement, brought joy to the guests and naturally transitioned to the dry meal segment. As the protagonist of the party, Chen-Wen-Wen was absent-minded throughout the entire process, occasionally searching for Li Chang'an, fearing that Li Chang'an would cause a stir and ruin his chances of marrying into a wealthy family. Halfway through, she went to the restroom with an excuse. In the women's restroom, Chen-Wen-Wen sat on the toilet seat and took out the latest Apple phone from Hermès' handbag. Open WeChat and send a message to Li Chang'an with a fish pattern as a note. Li Chang'an, where are you now? Who brought you here? Why didn't you tell me in advance? Li Chang'an, reply. System research, Chang'an, I was planning to talk to you later because I was afraid you might not be able to accept it. I know you like me and have done a lot for me. Really, thank you very much for your care and dedication to our family over the past few years. But things like love depend on feelings and fate. I have tried to love you, but I found out that I have always only regarded you as a good friend. When you see me find true happiness, you will also be happy for me, right? In the hotel kitchen, I could feel the constant vibration of my phone in my inner pocket. He squeezed a piece of sushi into his mouth and reached out to take out his phone. Looking at the bombardment of messages on the screen with the note, "Wen baby," Li Chang'an was taken aback. Perhaps this woman is not mentally ill. Isn't she just accepting the proposal of that wealthy second-generation man named Wei Shihao? How could she still be in the mood to chat with other men in such occasions? When Li Chang'an unlocked his phone and opened WeChat chat, another message popped up on the screen. Chang'an, are you watching? Don't mess around, let me explain to you. Li Chang'an flipped through the messages previously sent by Chen-Wen-Wen. Good guy, I saw him before and was worried that he might get angry and cause trouble here. Shantima has always regarded him as a good friend based on his feelings and fate. In recent years, while I have been tirelessly doing this and that for her, and willing to sell my house and mortgage for his father's surgical expenses, why haven't I made it clear? When accepting someone's meticulous care with peace of mind, how come there is no clear boundary and instead creates an illusion of wanting to spend the rest of one's life together? Now he has broken it, saying that everyone is just good friends. What else is there to find true happiness and die? Simply put, after weighing the pros and cons, he believes that he is not as wealthy as that Wei Shihao and cannot rely on his wealth to attract people. Little did they know that Li Chang'an was no longer an old friend at that time, let alone the love brain of the licking dog who was crazy for her and pounded against the big wall for her. To prevent this small-chested and brainless slut from continuing to self-medicate, Li Chang'an directly cooled down and turned off his phone. Do you think coming to this engagement banquet is making it difficult for you? Okay, it's difficult, right? So don't do it. Just as Li Chang'an had shut down, Wen also happened to press the toggle button in the toilet. Unfortunately, the only response he received was that the number you dialed was not in the service area. On the other hand, at the engagement banquet, Wei Shihao noticed that Wen had not returned for a long time and also sent a message asking if something had happened to her. Wen replied that she wanted to come back, and then absent-mindedly left the restroom. When she returned to the Phoenix Hall, her gaze searched the scene and found that she had not seen Li Chang'an. She breathed a slight sigh of relief in her heart. She thought carefully and realized that she had misread. How could someone like Li Chang'an, who struggles on the edge of the lucky newspaper model every day with 996, appear here without warning? Not to mention whether he knows or not, even if he does, he cannot avoid security checks. Wen, who had figured it out, was beautiful and relaxed, regaining her dignified demeanor and returning to her fiancé Wei Shihao. The swaying figure swayed the mind of Wei Shihao, who was already somewhat intoxicated. Chapter 6. Happy engagement, baby. Add a bookshelf to support it, ors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Wen sat down with a smile, the lobby manager in charge of management nearby glanced around and then picked up the walkie-talkie, saying, "Kitchen, this is the Phoenix Hall. You can serve the main course now. Received from the kitchen, it's ready here." Quickly, the entrance of the Phoenix Hall was opened again, and over 20 waiters each carried a silver-covered plate and rushed in, placing it in the center of each table. Dear uncles and aunts, this dish is said to be the award-winning work of the Michelin 3-star chef invited back from abroad by the Peninsula Hotel. Wei Shihao stood up with a smile and politely reached out to remove the silver cover, while introducing to everyone at the main table, "I hope everyone can be happy." Before Wei Shihao could finish speaking, a scream of terror shattered the festive atmosphere. Ah! The sudden scream also startled Wei Shihao. With a clang, the silver cover in hand fell onto the table. It's okay if it doesn't fall off. As soon as the silver cover falls off, the girl on the main table also screams in surprise. There is no Michelin 3-star chef's main dish in the dinner plate. It is clearly a bloody head. This head was borrowed by Li Chang'an himself from Wen's good friend Zhao Siki as an engagement gift for his girlfriend Wen. However, he is low-key and does good deeds without leaving a name, so he didn't stop talking. At this moment, Zhao Siki's head was still covered in the dust and dead leaves that had fallen to the ground when he was nowhere else. A pair of dilated pupils, gray and lifeless fish eyes, stared fixedly in the direction of her best friend Wen. The appearance of the head instantly brought the atmosphere of the entire engagement banquet to a freezing point. Just as the scene was completely silent, the head in the plate suddenly began to vibrate, and soon a loud bell rang from below the hair-covered part of the plate. Surprise motherfucker. Surprise motherfucker. Full-level translation. Happy engagement, dear baby. This wedding banquet, which was supposed to be a feast for guests and hosts, had to end prematurely due to the appearance of this bloody head amidst the ringing of the clown. Everyone diverted to the police station for tea and the second half started. And Li Chang'an had already taken Zhao Siki's head out of a different dimensional space, took advantage of the gap between rubbing shoulders with the waiter and placed it on the dining plate before leaving. He doesn't care whether this main dish, which will definitely impress the whole audience, will be served at the table of Wen and Wei Shihao. As long as the result is what he wants, it's enough. A slight deviation in the process is harmless. At the same time, this engagement banquet quickly became a sensation on the internet. Rich families order weddings, Michelin 3-star chefs, a head from a female friend, hundreds of celebrities. These words alone may have average effects. But once combined, in this entertainment to death era, it is definitely the #1 hot search list. Shocked. The head of the female best friend was revealed at the wedding banquet hosted by the CEO of Webster Group. Braised head in brown sauce as the main dish. The rich family engagement banquet will reveal the winning secret of Michelin 3-star chef. The engagement banquet for the successor of the Webster Group has undergone unexpected changes, and the female best friend risked her life to stop it. 20 minutes before the police arrived. On the open space outside the restaurant, Li Xiangjuan and director Sun, who was covered in alcohol, walked out together. Xiangjuan, your performance tonight was good. Director Sun had a drunken expression on his face and smiled as he reached out and gently patted Li Xiangjuan's fragrant shoulder. But he didn't stop, instead he slowly rubbed Li Xiangjuan's fabric and continued calmly, several high-level executives have a good impression of you. Li Xiangjuan frowned slightly upon seeing this, although he felt disgusted in his heart, he did not show any displeasure on the surface. She just silently avoided Director Sun's hand and said, Director, you gave me a thumbs up. Thank you for helping to put in a good word. Director Sun was very satisfied with Li Xiangjuan's attitude and laughed heartily. However, it is said that there was a secret shooting incident within the group today. Director Sun restrained his smile and changed his tone. It seems to be related to the management trainee project you are responsible for. Li Xiangjuan was not surprised to see Director Sun mention this matter. The secret shooting incident this time has already spread in the company, it is impossible for them not to know. She explained, I have cooperated with the security department to investigate today's toilet surveillance incident, and it should have nothing to do with that trainee. Director Sun nodded and said, that's good. The year-end assessment is coming soon, and your chances of promotion this year are still very high. Speaking, Director Sun touched Li Xiangjuan's cheek again. Li Xiangjuan did not immediately dodge, but humbly said, I take your good words and hope you can support me more. Ha ha ha. Her flattery greatly benefited Director Sun, who said, it's easy to say, easy to say. As he spoke, Director Sun's gaze was unabashedly fixed on Li Xiangjuan's collar, saying, however, you also know that the company is currently undergoing a critical period of review by the China Securities Regulatory Commission. If you could personally uncover this sneak photography maniac. Director Sun said with some indication, then your promotion this time is basically stable. Li Xiangjuan is a smart person, so you can naturally hear the implied meaning of Director Sunday. This internal espionage case must identify a criminal, who needs to be accountable, and the group employees need justice. And she also needs a chip to ensure promotion. Don't worry, I know what to do now. Director Sun nodded. Looking at the woman in front of me, who is as watery and juicy as a peach, ripe and ripe. Plus, after the evening breeze blew, the alcohol content became a bit strong. The flames in his lower abdomen became increasingly restless. You drove here alone, right? Director Sun's fingertips caressed Li Xiangjuan's smooth and fair skin. Just as he was about to continue speaking, Yu Guang seemed to see someone approaching through Li Xiangjuan's slightly raised hair, which was blown by the wind. Director Sun was startled and instinctively withdrew his hand, pretending to be serious and straightened his tie. Li Xiangjuan noticed Director Sun's abnormality and turned around slightly to look back. It turned out to be Li Chang'an walking over. Li Xiangjuan responded calmly, before coming, I thought that I might have to drink at tonight's drinking party, so I called someone to help me drive. Under the darkness, Director Sun watched as Li Chang'an emerged from nowhere, and his displeasure flashed across his eyebrows. Well, drinking alcohol really doesn't allow driving. Safety is the most important. After speaking, Director Sun decided to turn around and leave, that's it then, don't let me down. Okay, Director, please take your time. Where exactly did you lose in Chapter 7? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Watching Director Sun, who was full of alcohol, enter the entrance of the restaurant again, Li Xiangjuan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If it weren't for her foresight and having Li Chang'an accompany her, it would be really difficult to deal with Director Sun, this sleazy old man, tonight. After dismissing Director Sun, Li Xiangjuan regained his previous proud and aloof demeanor. Are you full? Let's just make do with it. Li Xiangjuan gave him a cold glance and saw that Li Chang'an seemed to be in a good mood. He didn't take the initiative to reimburse her with the receipt, so he didn't say much. Let's go then. Two people, one in front and one behind, walked towards the direction of the parking lot. Li Chang'an walked straight towards the driver's seat of the BMW sports car, knowing that the main reason why Li Xiangjuan invited him to come was to let him play the role of a driver. And according to his memory, it seems that Deputy Director Li hit a tree while driving back. But Li Xiangjuan opened the driver's door first and sat inside. Get in the car. Li Xiangjuan glanced lightly at Li Chang'an standing outside the car door. Deputy Director Li, you. What? It's okay. Since she insists on driving it herself, Li Chang'an has no objections. Anyway, the car is not his, and he cannot be found while driving under the influence of alcohol. It's not a big deal to pay more attention to yourself in the passenger seat, and remind me when there are any situations. As Li Chang'an approached the passenger door and got into the car, a young man with a greasy and powdery jacket was puzzled by the situation near the restaurant. Why is this kid dressed in cheap street vendors? He has been paying attention to that woman for a long time, although he didn't see her profile clearly. But that provocative outfit, coupled with Yan Feihuan's seductive and graceful figure. Even if he didn't see his face clearly, he was willing to be sandwiched between those long legs by this woman. I thought that kid was at best a driver, but I didn't expect this guy to take the passenger seat. He smoked half a pack of cigarettes but couldn't figure out how this kid hooked up with such a top-notch woman driving a BMW M3. Where exactly did he lose? When the young jacket was shocked, the BMW M3 fell out of the parking space and flew away. On suburban roads. Li Xiangjuan did not return according to the original route. After bypassing 3 blocks, I didn't even take the national highway. With a turn of the steering wheel, I drove straight into a secluded fork in the road. The two sides of this road are narrower, and the distance between dim yellow street lights is several times longer than the main road. Especially at night, the visibility is extremely low. Chang'an, have you been interning at our Ningzhou port group for almost 3 months? Li Xiangjuan broke the silence first, and Li Chang'an let out a faint sigh, not knowing what medicine she was selling in her gourd. I noticed that my colleagues in the department don't seem to have a good impression of you. Li Chang'an said nonchalantly, do you have it? Whatever. Being misunderstood is the norm in life, being understood is the rare accident. Anyway, as the end of the world approaches, the reborn Li Chang'an does not want to waste any time socializing with these meaningless colleagues. There is no standard answer to life, and everyone has their own annotations. There is no need to care too much about the opinions of others and live in their world. As for these guys who like to chew their tongues behind their backs, they will die wherever they please. It seems that they are still too idle. You can give them more work so that they won't have time to engage in intrigues in the office. I've seen so many legends of empresses in the palace, I really treat the company as my own home. Li Xiangjuan. What I mean is, good colleague relationships are beneficial for the progress of work. Don't you want to build good relationships with everyone at all? Li Xiangjuan was driving while observing Li Chang'an's expression, and tentatively said, or do you not plan to continue developing in our group? Well, let's go with the flow. Next to him, Li Xiangjuan looked at the preparations and brought the topic back to today's toilet sneak shooting incident. What do you think about the women's restroom spy incident that occurred today? Upon hearing this, Li Chang'an felt somewhat displeased. This woman is not finished, is she? I didn't do it, how do I know? Li Xiangjuan's face was plain, and the remaining light under his frameless glasses glanced at Li Chang'an. His vermilion lips lifted lightly and he said, I'm just asking casually. Don't have any emotions. For a moment, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. 2 or 3 minutes later, Li Xiangjuan let out a soft sigh and broke the brief silence. I'll tell you the truth, he said. The response to this matter within the group is very bad, and the senior management of the group also knows about it. And you are currently the first suspect, so the senior management has a bad impression of you. Li Chang'an was taken aback and frowned, but isn't the surveillance from the security department proving my innocence? The surveillance near the toilet is broken, and the surveillance near the vending machine did capture your footage, but that can only prove that you are temporarily innocent. Li Xiangjuan spoke coldly and said seriously, moreover, the real culprit has not been caught yet, has he? Li Chang'an turned his head and looked directly at Li Xiangjuan, the deputy director of human resources, beside him. So, do you still suspect that I did it? Li Xiangjuan did not deny, ultimately, your reputation in the group is too poor, and everyone does not trust you. Upon hearing this, Li Chang'an felt somewhat speechless. But for those colleagues who follow the crowd, he can also understand. Just like the scandals in the entertainment industry, the public may not be very concerned about the truth itself. They only believe in the facts they are willing to see. Moreover, Zhang Mengjia is the one who spread rumors that he is a pervert and a filming maniac. Although the money-loving woman is also an intern management trainee with him, she has won the recognition of many people in recent months due to her sweet appearance and pretending to be weak in front of old employees. The matter has come to this point, and Li Chang'an is too lazy to dwell on those frightening rumors. Compared to Zhang Mengjia's daughter, Li Chang'an is more interested in why the story of Li Xiangjuan, the proud and delicate boss, is being revisited at this time. Deputy Director Li, you've been talking to me all this time, do you have any solution? Under Li Chang'an's gaze, Li Xiangjuan shook his head without looking askance. No. So. Li Chang'an is not surprised. He is not related to Li Xiangjuan, as long as she does not fall into trouble. If she is willing to take the initiative to help herself, then she will see the ghost. What is your true purpose? In Li Chang'an's memory, Li Xiangjuan is a typical urban elite woman. Such a capable woman, everything she does will not be for no reason, definitely with a strong purpose. Li Chang'an quickly traced back to what happened today in his mind. At the end of the day, there were so many people in the department who didn't leave, but she called herself, a subordinate with extremely poor reviews among colleagues, to accompany her to this so-called business gathering. Moreover, not only did he confront her in front of so many people, but he was also the first suspect in the secret filming incident. Chapter 8. Do you like me? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The so-called business gathering has come to an end now. But Li Xiangjuan not only did not let him drive, but also did not take the fastest Ring Expressway to return to Ningcheng. He went around in such a big circle, without asking him to do anything throughout the entire journey. If this cunning and aloof female boss had no ulterior motives, she probably wouldn't believe it herself. Li Xiangjuan clearly did not expect Li Chang'an's insight to be so strong that he would come straight to the point. Prickle, suddenly, she slammed on the brake. What did you just say? Deputy Director Li, if you call me out tonight, wouldn't it just be treating me to a meal? Li Chang'an looked at her very calmly, his whole demeanor changed, like an experienced negotiator who had been immersed in society for a long time. You are a smart person, but I am not stupid either, so don't beat around the bush. Just tell me your true purpose. Li Xiangjuan lifted the frameless glasses on the bridge of his nose and stared at Li Chang'an. She did not refute Li Chang'an's words, but was somewhat uncomfortable with his sudden transformation. How could an inexperienced college student have such an elusive gaze? Is it an illusion? After a moment of silence, Li Xiangjuan's red lips lightly parted and he said with a serious tone, then I'll just say it straight. I hope you can voluntarily admit that you did this sneak peek incident. An accident is unexpected, but Li Chang'an, who had known that Li Xiangjuan had ulterior motives, quickly figured it out. As Li Xiangjuan mentioned earlier in the company, now is a critical period for Ningzhou Port Group, and any scandal will cause considerable trouble. This sneak shooting incident has been widely circulated in the company, and in order to minimize its impact, a scapegoat is needed. And Li Chang'an, who has no background, poor popularity, and is not a formal employee, is a 3-no management trainee. Undoubtedly, he is the best candidate to end this storm. And is the year-end assessment of the group management approaching? Are you serious? Do you think it's necessary for me to joke with you? Why? Li Chang'an raised his eyebrows and spoke coldly. Do you think I would sacrifice my reputation and future, risk going to jail, and willingly serve as a stepping stone for your promotion? I'm afraid this woman doesn't have a brain pit. She really treats us like soft persimmons. Although old Li once served as the green hat hero of Chang'an, it was just an unforgettable past. Not to mention that he no longer licks it now, even when he unintentionally became the green hat's hot sheep in the past. There are still several years of emotional foundation between him and that slut Chang'an. Li Chang'an is a bit speechless. What kind of spring and autumn daydream are you, Li Xiangjuan? With just one empty sentence, you want me to take such a big black pot for you like a fool? Did you drink too much, or did you really treat me like a fool? Generally speaking, it is normal for interns like Li Chang'an to become hysterical and angry after hearing Li Xiangjuan's words. But Li Xiangjuan suddenly lost control of Li Chang'an's current composure, as well as her meticulous logic in revealing the benefits she could gain from it. Why didn't she notice before that this kid still has this side? Fortunately, as long as Li Chang'an doesn't immediately push the car door and leave, there is still room for discussion. In adult society, everything has its price. Over the past 2 months, taking into account your performance and reputation in the company, you should also be aware that it is highly likely that you will not be able to become a full-time employee and will continue to stay. Li Xiangjuan stopped the car and put on the handbrake, saying, "Anyway, everyone is going to leave. Is that so? Called reputation still important? As for going to jail, you don't have to worry about it. The cost of the company going through legal procedures on such small matters is too great. It's better to turn big matters into small ones." I didn't see it. Deputy Director Li, you are really a loyal dog of the group. Li Chang'an gave a cold smile and said, "Stop talking about the group. Why should I take the blame and pave the way for you? Just because you brought me over for dinner tonight. Not to mention that Li Chang'an didn't even eat a penny of her food tonight. Even if I eat it, what's so expensive about food? To repay the kindness of a meal by stepping on a sewing machine and going to jail? Of course not." Li Xiangjuan didn't pay much attention to the sarcasm in Li Chang'an's words, so he pressed the button next to the seat to unfasten the seat belt. At the same time, her voice softened a lot. "What do you think of me?" Li Chang'an was taken aback at the words, unsure of what she meant. Seeing that Li Chang'an was silent, a smile suddenly appeared on Li Xiangjuan's face. However, this smile is slightly different from the previous mockery and sneer. Red lips rippled slightly, the crimson cheeks that were too strong to drink complemented the slightly teasing and charming eyes, and a few strands of hair swayed in the wind, adding a touch of water-like tenderness. Li Xiangjuan leisurely reached out and took off the frameless glasses on his exquisitely stunning face, saying softly, "Do you like me?" Chapter 9. Li Chang'an, how dare you? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Suddenly, Li Xiangjuan grabbed Li Chang'an's hand and placed it on her body. But before Li Chang'an's rising adrenal hormones could trigger a surge in hormones. Pop. Pop. Li Xiangjuan's sudden and merciless slaps fanned Li Chang'an's heart back to the bone like reality. "Li Xiangjuan, you." Li Chang'an covered his cheeks, with a burning pain on his face, interpreting what beautiful women are all roses with thorns. Looking at Li Chang'an with a bewildered expression, Li Xiangjuan rubbed his fingers. Just now, her charming face was filled with indifference. In the cold and beautiful eyes, tenderness disappeared without a trace, replaced by endless disgust. That gaze feels like looking at a piece of trash. "Li Chang'an, you're so brave." Li Xiangjuan distanced himself from Li Chang'an and exclaimed in shock, "I kindly took you to expand your network, but you dare not insult me." Li Chang'an was shocked by her sudden contrast operation. No, what are you talking about? Just now, you took the initiative to hold my hand and put it on my body. I haven't done anything yet. Hee. Li Xiangjuan sneered and raised the corners of his mouth as if he had heard something ridiculous. It's really a joke. You don't even look at yourself. I'll seduce you. If you say that out loud, will anyone believe it? Li Chang'an. Although she is very arrogant, what she said is very true. One is a management trainee who doesn't have anything to do, and the other is the deputy director of the Human Resources Department of the Port Group, which has been the top throughput for 14 consecutive years. She needs to have status and beauty. In the absence of ironclad evidence, even if Li Chang'an had spoken his mind out, no one would believe that Li Xiangjuan would actively seduce him. She pointed to the edge of the car's rearview mirror, where the dashcam had been turned around at some point. Her moist red lips raised a confident curve and said, even if you don't want to admit it, it's useless. It's all captured. Li Chang'an took a deep breath of air. He was really playing the role of the sixth generation in the fairy dance. But fortunately, with such advanced technology, she probably didn't know that all driving recorders have recording functions. Li Chang'an breathed a temporary sigh of relief in his heart and said, since we have all captured the footage, we should have recorded the voices we just spoke. It's probably not that easy for you to stir up trouble with this thing. Upon hearing this, Li Xiangjuan's face remained calm and confident. She hugged her chest with both hands and sneered at Li Chang'an's words, hee, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I've disappointed you. Because there are too many confidential conversations in the car, the one I installed happens to have no recording function. Li Chang'an. No wonder this dead woman is so confident and fearless. She turned out to be waiting for him here. But it's okay, you have Zhang Liangji, and the young master has a wall ladder. Wait for me to directly use the space of another dimension to take away this broken driving recorder for you, let's see what else you're crazy about. Looking at Li Chang'an's expression, Li Xiangjuan seemed to see through his thoughts of forcibly destroying the driving recorder and erasing the evidence, and immediately shattered his futile delusion. You don't have to think about taking away or destroying the dash cam. It's connected and the video is synchronized to my cloud account. You. What a vicious woman with a snake and scorpion heart. What Zhang Wuji said his mother was right. The more beautiful a woman is, the more she can't believe it. Since the path of destroying videos is not feasible, what about those who directly solve the manufacturing problem? Anyway, the night is dark and the wind is high, and there is no one here. It is a feng shui treasure trove for killing and closing households. Moreover, he has not been killed before, and it happens that the corpses are paired together. This idea didn't exist in Li Chang'an's heart for long, but he rejected it. The situation of Li Xiangjuan, the contrasting female boss, is different from the previous Zhao Siki. Zhao Siki and he just happened to meet, and we just need to remove the camera that may have captured them in advance. Li Xiangjuan is different. From leaving the company to this Bishwawan resort, too many people along the way knew that she was with Li Chang'an. If he were to kill someone here directly, not only would his plan to collect apocalyptic supplies not be possible, but he would also have to bring up a wanted killer notice, which would not be worth the loss. Damn it, I can't play anymore, but I can't kill anymore. It's really difficult for me. Li Chang'an, I'll give you two paths now. Li Xiangjuan crossed his legs with a cold and arrogant expression, either admit that you are the one who secretly took photos, and immediately get out of our Ningzhou port group. Either. Li Xiangjuan sneered and took out his phone. He pressed the alarm number in front of Li Chang'an, and his scallion-shaped jade finger hovered over the dial button. I will hand over the video to the police. If that's the case, not only will you still be fired, but you will also be imprisoned and kept a record. Since you claim to be a smart person, you don't need me to teach you how to choose. Everyone has seen this, add a bookshelf, ors. Chapter 10. The Key to Breaking the Game. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Chang'an looked helplessly at the contrasting female boss who did not follow the routine, thinking that the prisoner who was quickly caught carrying the blame in his past life was probably forced to submit like this by Li Xiangjuan. It's just that Li Chang'an was born again and happened to take over the blame for him. He sighed and didn't expect to be taught such a memorable lesson on the second day of his rebirth. Even if Li Chang'an wants to knock her down now, he presses her down and rubs her hard, forcing her to hand over the original data of the video recording. She was also persuaded to withdraw by the alarm phone she was ready to call at any time. Li Chang'an had to admit that Li Xiangjuan's scheme was brilliant and varied, and he even used himself as bait. Who can withstand it? He felt a bit helpless. It doesn't matter if he lost his job. The end of the world is coming in less than a month, and money is just a pile of waste paper. He even rolled up his butt. He was truly righteous that his plan to hoard supplies in the apocalypse was just beginning to be disrupted by a woman. Li Xiangjuan saw that Li Chang'an had not answered and did not intend to continue patiently waiting with him. What Li Chang'an thinks is not important to her, as long as this guy is not a fool, she should know that there is no other choice in front of him. Only by obediently carrying the blame and leaving a way out. Now, you can get off the car. Li Chang'an said dejectedly, get off here. You left me here in this wilderness, how can I go back? Li Xiangjuan looked at Li Chang'an disdainfully and said, how you go back is your business, it has nothing to do with me. Get out of my car right away. I don't even want to stay in the same space as trash like you for a second now. Damn it, when it's good, call them Chang'an brother. When it's not good, scold them and ask them to get out of the car. Women are truly fickle. You're ruthless. In the end, Li Chang'an gritted his teeth and opened the passenger door. Looking at the BMW M3 sports car that had been restarted, a cool breeze struck, making Li Chang'an even more desolate. It seems that even with the golden finger of a different dimensional space and the memory experience of a past life, one must be cautious of arrogance and impatience. Note that the road is slippery in the dark, society is complex, little ghosts are hard to guard against, and people's hearts are unpredictable. Today's Li Xiangjuan is a good lesson. However, lessons are learned, and the plan to hoard supplies still needs to be implemented, which is the foundation for his future standing in the apocalypse. After the end of the world arrives, we can squat directly at home and personally set up a shelter to harass. After reflecting on the explosive losses he had suffered, Li Chang'an's last bit of thinking, relying on his golden fingers and memory experience to plan ahead in the future, disappeared completely. He opened his phone and saw that this place was still over 20 kilometers away from the city center. The key is this point, even on this kind of deserted path with dim street lights, it's hard to drive. Li Chang'an let out a bitter smile, there should be no more unlucky rebirth than him. The reincarnation characters in their novels are all in a different world. At the beginning of the game, they awaken the system and receive a reward of millions of cash in one draw, and then receive stocks of listed companies in 2 draws. Then, with the support of the system, various lowly, maids, and wives surrounded by beautiful women, she disguised herself in various ways and slapped her face. Marry by Fume, become bigger and stronger, and reach the pinnacle of life. When he arrived at Li Chang'an's place, his girlfriend Chen Wenwen, who had been dating for 4 years, suddenly turned green. Not to mention, he was engaged to the wealthy second generation. After finally encountering the scene of a beautiful boss throwing herself in arms, the cunning woman turned out to be doing a fairy dance and forcing him to take the blame and go to jail. Convex the dish. I can't bear the wind and waves for a moment, but the more I step back, the more I think about it, the more angry I become. May I feel depressed, but life has to continue. I have to go home when I should. Who knows if there are any large and fierce beasts here? From the perspective of Li Chang'an's non-chieftain luck, it is not advisable to stay here for a long time. After thinking about it, Li Chang'an prepared to drive the navigation and walk on foot to a road that was easier to take a taxi. Unexpectedly, before he could walk much further, he heard a piercing and sharp break sound. Thorn it. Bang. Li Chang'an's pace stagnated. What kind of noise is this? Wait, he seems to have thought of something. In my memory, Li Xiangjuan didn't go to work at the group tomorrow, and the reason seems to be that the car broke down and needs to be repaired. Is it difficult? He seems to have found the key to breaking the deadlock. Is it normal for someone to die in a car accident or drunk driving hitting a tree? He followed the direction of the sound and immediately took a shortcut from the bushes, thinking in his mind that he would learn from Lei Feng and do good deeds later, helping Li Xiangjuan pass away to the paradise as soon as possible. Before long, Li Chang'an saw a bright light from the bushes ahead. The scene that followed made Li Chang'an dumbfounded. It is indeed possible that someone will die, but it seems that it is not Li Xiangjuan who will die. Just now, Li Xiangjuan, who was standing in front of Li Chang'an with black jade legs and arrogant, happened to get off the driver's seat of a BMW sports car. Black silk legs and high heels clattered on the ground. When she saw the motorcycle rider lying in a pool of blood in front of the broken headlights, her face turned pale with fear, and she covered her tempting red lips with her hand. Li Xiangjuan stumbled towards the dying rider. But just as she approached, the driver in the pool of blood suddenly moved, his hands stained with blood begging to reach out to her. This sudden action frightened Li Xiangjuan's delicate body, and her plump figure almost fell to the ground. Help! 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 Help me! Li Xiangjuan's willow eyebrows furrowed tightly. The summer evening breeze brushed her hair, but her cold sweat couldn't help flowing down her fragile face. Wet her silk shirt, the silhouette of her black lingerie was faintly visible. Staring at the dying motorcycle rider in the pool of blood, she did not immediately step forward to rescue him. After hesitating for a moment, she looked up and looked around. Under the gaze of Li Chang'an behind the bushes, Li Xiangjuan stumbled back on his high heels and picked up the fragments of the lampshade on the ground. Then she opened the car door and ignited it. Amidst the roar of the engine, she mercilessly turned around and prepared to drive away. But perhaps due to a moment of panic, Li Xiangjuan's hand on the steering wheel was too strong and accidentally caused the driver to be crushed twice. Seeing everything, Li Chang'an's eyelids twitched and he couldn't help but sigh, this woman is a cruel person. Although in terms of morality and law, her behavior should be despised. On a personal level, Li Chang'an can also understand. If Li Xiangjuan chooses to rescue, the subsequent troubles may be endless. If you hit someone while driving under the influence of alcohol and wear high heels while driving, you will definitely not be able to escape with full responsibility. Hitting and running is an even greater crime. But there is one issue, there is no monitoring here.